In a world that's constantly filled with noise, opinions, and constant chatter, sometimes the most profound message you can give is no message at all. We've all experienced it. Moments when someone doesn't respond. Maybe it's a text message left unread, a question unanswered, or an interaction left hanging in the air. But what if I told you that silence or non-response can speak louder than words ever could? Today, let's dive into the deep well of wisdom that non-response holds and how it can be one of the most powerful forms of communication you'll ever encounter. 1. The power of silence. In the ancient world, silence was revered. Philosophers like Socrates and Buddha knew that wisdom often speaks through stillness. But here's the thing, silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's a language of its own. Non-response in its simplest form is the refusal to engage. But within this refusal is a powerful statement. I am choosing not to react, not to conform, not to speak when words would only dilute the message. Think about it. In moments when we don't respond, we are not just avoiding conflict or discomfort. We're making a conscious decision to preserve our energy, our time, and our peace. 2. The reflection of the self. Have you ever noticed how the lack of response often forces reflection, not just on the situation, but on the self? It's a mirror. When someone doesn't reply, you're left alone with your thoughts, your feelings, your questions. What does non-response reveal about us? It unveils our need for validation, our expectations, our attachments to outcome. We ask ourselves, why haven't they responded? What does this mean about me or my worth? In reality, non-response is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of the other person's boundaries, their priorities, or perhaps their discomfort. 3. Emotional intelligence and growth. Here's where non-response becomes a tool for growth. Learning to sit with the discomfort of silence, whether from others or within ourselves, builds emotional resilience. When someone doesn't respond, our immediate instinct might be to fill the void with our own interpretations. But what if we learn to hold that space rather than filling it with anxiety or frustration? What if we saw the non-response as an opportunity to strengthen our emotional intelligence, to rise above the need for constant validation, and to focus inward? Imagine, instead of questioning their silence, you turn the question inward. What is this teaching me about my own sense of self-worth? Why do I feel unsettled? How can I grow beyond the need for constant reassurance? 4. The art of letting go. In the philosophy of letting go, silence and non-response serve as reminders that we cannot control everything, especially the reactions of others. What others choose to say or not say has little to do with us. In the space of non-response, we find freedom. Freedom to stop seeking approval, freedom to let go of expectations, and freedom to understand that not everything is a conversation that demands a reply. Some things are simply meant to be experienced without analysis or conclusion. Letting go of our need for response is like letting go of an anchor. We stop clinging to what we cannot control, and instead, we float in the currents of life at peace with the flow. 5. Non-response as a tool of boundaries. Another powerful dimension of non-response is its role in setting boundaries. Many of us are conditioned to respond quickly, to explain ourselves, to justify our actions. But not responding can be an intentional boundary, a silent way of saying, this is where I stand. I don't need to explain myself to you. Non-response doesn't always come from a place of indifference. Sometimes it comes from a place of deep self-respect. It's a way to preserve your peace and avoid unnecessary conflict. When we recognize non-response as an act of self-care, we stop feeling guilty about it. We start to understand that our time and energy are precious, and they shouldn't be given away freely to every request, every question, every expectation placed on us. So, the next time you find yourself faced with non-response, instead of feeling rejected or anxious, pause. Recognize it for what it is, a powerful message in its own right. Non-response teaches us to let go, to find strength in silence, to create space for our own growth. It asks us to reflect, not just on the actions of others, but on our own beliefs, values, and emotional triggers. And ultimately, it reminds us that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. It's in that silence that we find clarity, wisdom, and peace. Thank you for joining me today. May you find strength in your silence and wisdom in your stillness.